All right, it is Sunday. It is 3 p.m. Central Time, and we are live on YouTube. In case you didn't know, you can catch us live on YouTube. The best way to do that is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. The easiest way to do that, I would say, is to go to thecolememo.com/YouTube. Easy enough, right? And if you hadn't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, once again, that's the best way to be notified when we go live. I've got an exciting show today. In this episode, I'll be sitting down with Mark Kinnicky at the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat. If you're interested in visiting, the retreat is located at 17W350 West Lake Street in Addison, Illinois. And don't worry if you didn't catch that. I'm displaying the address below. I also have the address pasted in the show notes, so you can easily copy and paste that address into your GPS and head to the retreat. As you'll see in this episode, the retreat is a welcoming space to lounge, work, network, and purchase and enjoy cannabis products. They also host fun events like Baked Bingo and much more. We're already getting some comments on the stream. Since we are live, you can comment and I can display your comments below. Somebody says, enjoy what the wine sellers buy. I don't know what that means, Joseph, but cheers to that. If you can, be sure to support local businesses like the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat and enjoy this episode of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo. The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo is what allows this whole thing to go on.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you're listening and watching The Cole Memo.
And before I start this episode, I just want to wish Mark the happiest of birthdays. It just so happens that today is his birthday. And Joseph clarified, he said, it's what they called pot in the 1930s. Well, yes, once again, cheers to that. And here is my conversation with Mark at the Honeycomb Hideout.
Hey, Mark.
Welcome to the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat, Cole.
Hell yeah.
What do you think about that greeting?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Have you ever seen that on a silver platter like that?
That's awesome. That's the way it should be, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
The way it should be. We've got baked bonsai in here right off the bat. This is Cosmo.
Welcome to the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat. I'm your host, Mark Kinnicky, Mr. CBD Chicago. And you know, we all started with the pet stuff, Smokey and Cat, the ambassadors to CBD for dogs and cats. Take a look around. Shared workspace for anybody in the cannabis space. We work with local farms such as Boston Buds and Phenome Hound Genetics, amongst others. Special shout out to Go Genetics.
Nice. Seeds, right?
Correct.
There we go.
Spliff Society. Look at all those cones.
Yeah, and I've personally smoked some Spliff Society. It's always great stuff.
Shout out to our friend Stacy over at Hempstock Farms. Her honey is the honey, the
Absolutely.
preferred edible in this household.
Nice. Nice. And it looks like you have a lot of other hemp stock farm. Oh yeah, this is the honey here.
Yep. And then we have Wetter Streets. Shout out to Lexi, who uses our hemp to make some of those products.
Very cool. That is so awesome.
3D printing by necessities.
Look at that. I just have to give a shout out, support dope people.
Oh man, for sure, for sure. There's a lot of little nuggets around here you'll see. I'm sure you already saw Bonsai Bakery.
Yep.
Shout out to Vanessa from Necessities. Need 3D printing, she is it.
Absolutely. Little 3D printed accessories. Oh, I see this is an ashtray with a little thing so you can clear your bowl out on, if you see that. And a little joint holder you can smoke out of and the ash gets caught. Anyways, who's this here?
Hidden Hills. We also have some other products over here. You'll see from Elise Candles. We do carry stuff from other local vendors. It's beyond hemp, CBD, and THC.
I like the Luigi candle.
Shout out to the House of Bandits, Miguel.
Hemp.
Topicals. We basically specialize in the roll-on hemp, CBD, and THC. Knocks out all pain. And it smells good for a change. For those of you who've heard me say this before, no one wants to walk around smelling like Bengay. No one wants to smell like menthol. You don't want to be heated up, and you don't want to be frozen. You want to be soothed, you want relief, and you want to smell good. And we provide all three of that.
That's awesome.
Yep. Hemp, CBD, THC, it's all in one. It's the entourage effect for real. Instead of using normal bases, we used hemp seed oil, and then we put CBD and THC, and we use a superhero dose. And then we use black oak currant to actually make it smell good. And then that has turned into, I can't officially say this, but I can unofficially say that we think it's an aphrodisiac, because I get a lot of our regulars telling me that they are getting lucky.
Very awesome. And people can get this online as well. Is that true?
Yes, at MrCBDChicago.com. And actually come to the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat and see us in person.
Yeah. What's the address?
17 West 350 West Lake Street, Addison, Illinois. Notice I had to pause for a second because it's a very long address.
Yep.
You're better off looking up Mr. CBD Chicago on Google, which will take you to the Honeycomb Hideout.
Yep. And we'll have the address pasted in the description for this video as well, if that makes it easy for you.
For sure.
So anyways.
We're going to bring that back. Dope kicks.
I love it. The Mr. CBD dope kicks.
Yeah, and then as we noticed, we have 5 different doctors that rock with us here at the Honeycomb Hideout. And this is our office where they stay. This is my office and the doctor's office where we see patients. And when it's not doing that, we actually have an old school Xbox that has 13,000 games that you and your friends can come in here and chill out during events. We want to make it feel like home.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the old home. We have espresso machine for coffee, tea, all that.
Awesome.
And don't forget, my favorite
feels like
strain Bubba Kush is on tap at all times.
There you go.
On purpose. Yeah. Who doesn't want to smell that every day?
Amazing. Smells great. It really does. I see why you call it a retreat. It does feel like a place you can come, chill, smoke, connect, network.
And then,
display your wares. I mean, you see things around.
and when people come in, the goal is to give them the cliff notes to cannabis, the stuff that they need to know about the dogs and the cats, what they need to know about nutritional hemp,
Amazing.
what you need to know, the cliff notes to CBD,
Right.
and then of course what everyone thinks they know about, but there's so much to learn.
Very cool stuff. Very good information. I'll have to take that with me and display pictures when we're talking. You know what I'm saying?
Got our library here so people can check out books if they choose. We're actually going to we do not just, responsible consumption events, but we also obviously lead with education. We try to help with the medicinal part of it. People get their medical cards here. We offer the discount here on all their products. And so, we have healing sessions here. We've had live music here. I would say we've had comedians here, but it's just the residents that are here that are funny as hell. And we were here one night playing Uno till 3 a.m. People see this thing and they think it's for gambling. No, the most thing we've ever played around here is Uno. And then that was probably one of the most fun games of Uno I've ever played in my life. And shout out to Hi-Fo Media for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I just want to say that I think is cool is not only are you giving people the right to grow by helping them get their medical card, but you've got these seeds. You're encouraging people to grow it.
Yeah, the home grower and the hemp farmer are who I'm trying to support. And that's what I see the future of, if we need to make sure that our rights are protected in those two arenas.
Yeah.
Shout out to Charlie, We were at sessions last night, and he's definitely on the grow side where I feel like he's helping the home grower. Shout out to Maddie for the fighting for our consumption rights.
Absolutely.
And of course, Rachel for helping the hemp farmer. I'm trying to just be a well-rounded individual that supports the people who have their hearts in the right direction when it comes to this plant. This plant needs to be free. And, in order to get where we're going, we have to pay homage to the people who are currently doing it and the ones that did it before us, which we're going to get to that later.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
As we are on the cannabis revolution.
Hell
It even
yeah.
says so in a National Geographic.
Hell yeah. Well, any other bases we want to cover in this tour? Did we make it back to the fish tank room?
We didn't yet.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Cosmo. Tripping over the dog.
And then the bathroom is over here, which is important. If you haven't been over that direction, it's important to have a nice looking bathroom, and we do. We want to make it welcoming across the board. People can come and do their work here. Shout out to Maddie because she's here.
Hey.
Getting some work done on a Sunday.
Always. Work.
And then this is the Buddha room, aptly named from my turtle, Buddha, which is a showstopper around here, just like Cosmo.
Yeah, Buddha's chilling.
And of course, as we mentioned earlier, there's CBD water in there. So we put nano liquids in there. And the concept is that we were able to put South American cichlids along with African cichlids and a turtle. And we just had some guests recently saying, how do you have a turtle in there that's not killing all those fish? And the turtle actually knows the difference between the prey and what lives with it. It's pretty amazing.
Awesome. I love this room. You can tell it's a good spot for smoke sessions.
It is.
It's got the table in the middle, got the TV up top.
Ventilation, by the way, so when it's time to smoke.
Very nice. Oh, wow. It's everything moving. Hell yeah. This is awesome, Mark. This is awesome. Thank you for giving us the tour and welcoming me here. I'm ready to smoke some weed and chat.
Yes, let's do that.
Cool. Let's do it.
Beginning January 1st, 2020, the recreational use of cannabis will be legal in the state of Illinois.
Available to stream now, my mini doc dives into the history of Illinois legalization, starting with
January 1st, what should we expect? The biggest thing that we need people to understand is that January 1, in terms of the criminal justice system here in this state, is the end of prohibition.
See how Illinois missed its chance at real cannabis reform with key failures, including the fact that
the program includes regulation on possession limits.
So people can still be arrested for a possession.
And I want to highlight that in its first year of legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Illinois, they arrested 3 times as many black people for possession than any other race.
We've run into so much cannabis, we've run out of places to put it.
I have represented people and taken their cases through the court system who got charged with more serious crimes only because the police said that they smoked cannabis. And not because the police said you have illegal cannabis, or not because you have too much cannabis, or not because you're high on cannabis, but because I can smell it and that's it.
Attorney goes, he understands that he can't be smoking and his cannabis flower shouldn't be open. And I was like, I'd like to say for the record that I was not smoking and my flower was not open.
So that's where we're at right now in Illinois.
Yeah.
And I hope it changes.
Start watching now at colememo.com/minidoc. And once again, we are live on this Sunday. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to catch future live streams. I'm going to send you right back into this awesome episode of the Cole Memo, but I just want to remind you that this episode was released ad-free, no breaks, on Patreon. You can support the show directly by becoming a patron for just $3 a month, giving you early access to the episodes of the Cole Memo before they go public. You can join at colememo.com/Patreon. Once again, just $3 a month, and you can support the show directly. I will just say, once again, the best way to support the show is by liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. You can also make a contribution of your choice at colememo.com/support. And stay tuned. I'll be rolling out a membership option right here on YouTube in the near future.
Sun-Drenched Farm is the manifestation of my dream to be able to provide for my family through offering natural alternative forms of healing and wellness, the same forms that I've been so fortunate to experience on my journey in healing from Lyme disease. With in-house cultivation, solventless extraction, and final product manufacturing, we're able to offer the highest quality product that you can find now at sundrenchedfarm.com.
That's really interesting. As we started this podcast, we found out that TikTok is back. And what was the message that it displayed, Maddie?
As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the U.S.
Wow. Mark, how's it going?
It's going. How are you?
Doing well. Right off the top, remind people, because this is going to be a standalone podcast episode, where we are and how people can search it up to find out.
Go on Google, Mr. CBD Chicago, and you can look up. You'll see Mr. CBD Chicago at the Honeycomb Hideout, 17 West, 350 West Lake Street in Addison, Illinois.
Awesome. Yep. It's the Honeycomb Hideout, right?
Yep. The Honeycomb Hideout Retreat.
Thank you. Yes. And it is a retreat. It is a retreat. It is. Well, before we get into, so it's funny, we've been chatting for a while, hanging out, and we've had some wild times already. I feel like I've known you for 50 years. I'm not even that age, but I want to get to who you are, because I feel like I know you so well, but we've never really had that conversation. But before we do that, since we're talking about the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat, just tell me, like, what was the inspiration behind starting this place? And like,
that's amazing. Actually, question. The inspiration has something to do with a little bit about my past mental health and the things that I went through, and always being a safe place for other people to enjoy the plant, even when it was my home. We used to call it the Honeycomb Hideout. And I wanted to make a retreat out of that. And originally the thought process was, hey, I've become Mr. CBD Chicago to figure out a way to fund the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat. And that was kind of how that came out to be. But it's always been about where I was, and having a welcoming space for people that I knew who appreciated the plant the way I do.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
I've gone through everything from, injuries in the past where I broke my leg like Joe Theismann. I'm dating myself here. You have to look that up. It's horrific. It happened to me. I got wrongfully arrested in 2009 for defending myself in front of my own home, which caused me PTSD, which turned into diverticulitis, because all gut health is mental health. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And then I threw all of the medicine that I was given by dealers, into the toilet. And then next thing I knew, I resorted towards nutritional hemp, therapeutic CBD, and mental wellness for THC. And along the way, learned a lot as I continue to learn a lot. And, every day I try to be 1% better than I was yesterday. And after 6 years of being in business, I've had the luxury of becoming accredited in the healthcare space, where registered nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, social workers, and others, several other occupations, get 1 credit hour for learning about hemp, CBD, and THC from us. I'm very proud of that.
That's super cool. And you mentioned some of the products, or you made at least a loose reference. You've got the 420 H2O, 420 water.
Yeah, it's
water.
Ionized water that's infused with 30 milligrams of CBD. And the whole point of that originally was because we wanted to make sure that we could offer people who were diabetic, like my mom. Most edibles have too much sugar in it, and we're made of water, right? So one of the number one problems in the United States currently is lack of hydration. And people don't think of CBD the way they should, as it is one of those things that if you get a little too elevated, it can potentially help you get back on track and level you out. But utilizing CBD and THC can help you achieve the entourage effect. But I also tell people there's another missing piece, which is nutritional hemp, which we can talk about later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk about it now if you want to. It's part of, if it's, I know it's a big thing, like you said, with this establishment.
Well, this gives me an opportunity to do something. Earlier today, I gave some credit to some crusaders, such as Maddie, Charlie, and Rachel, And I wanted to also take a moment to pay homage to some of the people that I consider the Mount Rushmore of cannabis right now for me, because I've learned so much from their experiences that it's allowed me to like realize that someone needs to like continue to build off of those shoulders. And that first one was Jack Herer, you know, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Everybody write that down. If you haven't read that book, please do. It's the foundation for a lot of things that people don't know when it comes to industrial hemp and to nutritional hemp. Which is why we were just alluding to nutritional hemp, and that's why I bring him up. There's several other people I want to mention on that Mount Rushmore real quick, and then so people can do their due diligence. But Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, you know, obviously isolated THC and CBD, identified the endocannabinoid system. I'll just end it there. Go look him up yourself. You know, we need more we can learn from what his work was, and Jack's. We'd be really better off. And then there's Charlotte Figi. For those of you who don't know, she was the daughter of Paige Figi and the Figi family, and she was having 300 seizures a day, and their family fought for CBD for her children to be able to utilize it, and that's where they got Charlotte's Web from. You know, Jack Herer, people think it's a strain, which it is, but they're missing the bigger picture. Same thing with her. I feel like those three are like their legacy needs to continue through people that we've mentioned earlier. And as long as we know those things and like learn from their experiences, then we can keep going. Another person that's still with us, Rick Simpson. You know, there's a travesty out there that's going on where people are making a ton of money off of that dude's name. And, you know, he's dealing with it in a different type of way. It's not like he wanted to get paid from all that stuff, you know, but he's another one that I bring that up all the time with you in private conversations where I've talked about dispensaries and people who go in with super duper ailments such as cancer, and they get directed immediately to RSO oil, and they are not prepared to understand the circumstances of if you accidentally take too much, and they can have a poor experience with something that should be helping them. Sure. And I think, again, baby steps that I think that people need to get to is being first talked about nutritional hemp. And when brought it all back home here, you know, we got to have hemp, you know, hemp hearts. Maddie talked with me about that before. She put it in her smoothie, put it on a reel. I appreciated that big time. But taking 3 tablespoons of that a day is equivalent to 10 milligrams of protein. It's the best source of plant protein that there is. And there's 3,000 milligrams of fatty acids in there in a perfect 3-to-1 ratio that your body needs. So that's brain fuel, you know. And if you have a supercomputer and your body's a super machine, you want to give it the best kind of fuel that you possibly can. And we need to get rid of wheat, corn, and soy because we can't really digest those very well, and substitute the superfood that is hemp. It also is a better source of polysaturated fats without the sugar. The amino acids that come from that is really what a lot of people who have ailments need. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, one of the best things you can do for your body when it's having problems is the fast. But if you could also, you know, supplement hemp seed oil back into business, it will attack the bad bacteria called Staphylococcus aureus, which I'm going to make everybody laugh so they never forget this. Every time I hear that, I think there's always going to be this guy like from Harlem and Irving named Sammy Staphylococcus aureus. You know what I mean? He's a great guy. But no, I say that because I want you to remember this moment, because hemp seed oil can actually attack the bad bacteria while leaving the good bacteria behind. And I used to use an example of people telling, like, you know, they were using hemp out in Chernobyl to take the radiation out of the soil. And I said, well, what can it do for your body? But then someone told me, and I learned that it actually attacks bad bacteria. And I was like, well, why don't more people use it every day then? If they want to stay in homeostasis, and, you know, if you really want to achieve the entourage effect, I think hemp, nutritional hemp is a foundation that we need to lay down for people to have a normalization of cannabis. Having hemp coming from the right places, such as American grown hemp, instead of coming from across the borders, is a better way to get like safer, fresher hemp. And we have places that are currently doing that, but we need to become like the leader of that instead of like sitting on the sidelines. We need to start helping farmers, you know, in that arena. If we could stop subsidizing wheat and corn and start subsidizing hemp, that would be an amazing thing.
Right. Yeah, it's one thing that I heard recently that I thought was interesting. You know, I have no aspirations really to become a farmer or to get in the cannabis industry necessarily. And one of the things, though, that I was talking to a grower about, both a cannabis and hemp grower. Obviously, it's all cannabis, but you know, I'm talking license wise. They're growing hemp and growing cannabis, and I they don't have farm insurance like most farmers around here. Like if you're risking a lot when you grow a bunch of corn or grow a bunch of wheat or any of these other plants you're talking about. And fortunately, I think the last few years seems like we haven't had like bad harvests. It seems like things are going well, I guess, in that regard. But if they weren't to go well, they are insured, and so that they can still get a little bit of money. And what's kind of crazy about cannabis farmers, I mean, from what I know, and at least from what this one person was telling me, I'd have to do more research on it. Like I said, I'm not super into it, but it is kind of remarkable to think like hemp farmers and cannabis farmers. I don't know that they have or are able to have farming insurance. You know.
Well, how I believe we can help overcome that a little bit is appreciating the powers that be need to know that the food that we eat has an endocannabinoid system, that they need to be fed hemp. And then once they kind of get that in their minds, whether you are vegan and want to use the plant, or a vegetarian and want to use the plant for a better source of protein, which it can be, or if you're a carnivore for that matter and want your meat to be healthy, then you should be feeding it hemp. Now, they've already done that with chickens and they've afforded us the opportunity to do that, but they minimize it because they're afraid that, people think that you need like a certificate of analysis for hemp hearts. It's just superfood, man. There's no CBD, there's no THC in it. And that's why when they did the testing here, I learned it was like a year or two ago when our government they fed THC to cows to see what would happen. And they're like, oh yeah, man, they were wobbly and the milk was, infused. What do you think was going to happen? I didn't need that. That's not the research I needed. I needed to know what would happen when we gave it hemp. Did their endocannabinoid system start to get into balance? And then all of a sudden, are we finding animals seeing less, parasites because these things are going after the proper bacteria? If we have healthy animals that are healthy again, then they're easier to eat. Then you see less people with, irritable bowel syndrome, diverticulitis, Crohn's, etc. Those things you'll see less of if our food is healthier. And I think that is something that needs to be really understood. Most people who are, making the regulations and rules for this plant have no clue that it's a superfood. The lowest form of cannabis is a superfood.
Right. So we mentioned the water in the tour. We had some things, but that's of course extra media that I'll just tell people to check out. We'll have it linked in the show notes if you want to see the tour we went on when I came in here and some of the other bonus content that we shot a little bit ago. But I just wanted to give you the chance again to spotlight, like you've got companies like Bonsai Bakery in here. There's a lot of different products that I don't know which ones
we're kind of like a general ganja store, what I mean? Or an apothecary for that matter.
Yeah.
And again, it is private for, it's there's going to be memberships that people are going to be able to have. And then there's, our patients with medical marijuana cards
website,
MrCBDChicago.com. We're also going to be getting the Honeycomb Hideout.com, retreat.com will be coming up as well. It's going to be mainly for education and the purposes of getting your medical marijuana card, of course. And the other one, at the end of the day, I wanted to be able to offer people a wider range of things because I don't know what people are going to want. When you go to the store,
I like that you have, like you said, sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
But you said you can help people get your medical marijuana card. You can get your medical cannabis card, and then you can also grow. You can get seeds so that you can grow as a result of having that medical.
Correct, because they allow you 5 plants.
Yeah.
And so we want to help people get access to, and again, give them the right information from people so they can grow for themselves, and then learn more about the nutritional aspects of hemp coming in the door, and then offer a discount from our products as well. Because here's a lot of people out there. This is what I've been learning since I've gotten involved in the medical marijuana space, is that there's a microwave minute approach. where people are just like, I just want a card so I can get a discount. And I have an ailment and I approve and I need this right then and there. Our goal is to get consultation with our in-house doctors that endorse this place. And there are 5 of them. I'll get you that information so you can put that up on the screen later on. But on top of it, because we've been deemed a subject matter expert in the field and able to do continuing education for healthcare workers, I want to be able to do that same kind of continuing education for our patients and our regulars, and guide them to making better decisions that are actually helping them out. There's people who come in who are cannabis connoisseurs and they get completely blown away when they hear about hemp hearts and hemp seed oil and what it can actually do for them. And the fact that it has no intoxicating effects in there. But one of the things I forgot to mention is that even though there's no CBD in hemp seed oil or hemp hearts, it's also a natural anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
And it also, on top of it, helps metabolize food better.
Doesn't it have protein in it as well?
Oh, yeah. Great source of protein. It's the number one plant protein source, period.
Yeah.
And you have to know where you're getting it from, because a lot of people keep that on the shelf. It should be refrigerated for a longer shelf life. And if you don't know where your stuff is coming from, it could be rancid. And so that's important. Like when it comes to CBD, people are like, CBD doesn't work for me. Well, not all CBD is actually CBD. You got to know where you're getting your sources from. All CBD is good CBD as long as it's actually CBD.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. What are some other products that are in like your daily rotation? Like that it sounds like hemp hearts are in the
So
rotation.
hemp hearts for me is a part of my daily routine along with hemp seed oil. And then I obviously will do isolated CBD. We have nano liquids for CBD and THC. So we have them in 750 milliliter bottles is how we've embraced our opportunities in the service world, where we help restaurants, bars, and nightclubs with mocktails and show people like there's another way, like dry January. This is a good month for us because we're showing people a different way of how to appreciate the plant. And, you're made of water. So we made nano liquids that were made out of water. So that way the bioavailability of that gets into your system in 3 to 5 minutes and you're feeling the wonderful effects of the plant. Some people can do an isolated CBD drink, or we have the Dr. THC beverage made out of hemp. And some people will do both at the same time to get that leveled out feeling, Those drinks are phenomenal. That's how we began. We also have it in sprays. So that way it's like the salt and pepper on your dinner table, because not only can you use it for mocktails, but you can spray your food with it. Bless you. Bless you again. You could also use it on your food. So when you spray it on your food, it's tasteless and odorless and doesn't compromise the meals.
Mm-hmm.
And say whatever, here's what I tell people. What do you like? Because I don't know. You know what I mean? So if our stuff is tasteless and odorless, whatever you spray it on or in your beverage, it's whatever you like. So it's going to be what you need.
Nice.
And that was kind of important because our palates change every 7 years. So you need to have something that is universal for people so they can take those baby steps. And the sprays are a good way. And then sometimes those spray regulars end up turning into giant bottle regulars.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw there's plenty of flour here and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yes, from local hemp farmers in Rockford and DeKalb. Shout out to Phenome Hound Genetics and Boston Buds. And as you know, when we were walking around, we started the company working with animals. It was based on my best friend, Smokey, and then his best friend, Cash, which is a cat. And then we did a simple formula that was Alaskan salmon oil and full spectrum CBD, 500 milligrams. That's it. No preservatives. So you have to refrigerate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that helped Smokey live for 19 years and no vets. The whole time, the only time he ever saw a vet was to get a rabies shot. But he never went for any, he died of natural causes. And he appropriately died on the last full moon of 2024, since my saying for him was howl at the moon. He was the perfect ambassador and still is to this day. And now Cosmo, which she's running around here somewhere. She's been on camera already, probably sleeping. She is now taking that mantle to another level. And because she's 1 year old and people think how calm and great she is when she's not acting like a typical husky, CBD levels her out.
Yeah. Animals are awesome. And it's cool that your puppy has had that lasting impact. Just checking out our battery here.
Shout out to K9 for Veterans. We are proud supporters of them helping our veterans get service dogs. and educating them about the dog endocannabinoid system. And, dogs don't know placebo effect. So that when they see it working for their dog, then they're more likely to let me help them get off of some of the drugs that they've been prescribed. As they have a serious issue, our veterans, with opioid addiction. And I'm tired of cannabis being the last line of defense.
Yeah.
And by the way, going back to refined hemp seed oil, not only can you use it as an ingestible to help you, but it also can be used as a topical. And most people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like a lot of truck drivers that will come in here and people who cannot think they can use the plant, when I introduce them to nutritional hemp, you should see how it changes their life.
Any other mentionable? I didn't see. Did you? I know you had the Spliff Society wraps.
For sure.
Did you have any drinks?
Shout out to Briggs. Yeah, well, 420 Fit H2O. And of course, the nano liquids, which affords us the opportunity to do mocktails with whatever anybody likes. So to give you an idea, we've done root beer floats here.
Nice.
We do espressos. We do hot tea. Someone wants a Dr. Pepper with a Dr. THC. That's a double doctor. You know what I mean? And then I go, doctor, and doctor. And then, that's how that works. And then shout out to Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase for giving me that line from Spies Like Us. Go look it up, kiddos. It's a funny movie.
Hell yeah.
And let's see, what else am I missing? Our topicals. We work with a lot of spas. So we have it in gallon format, and it's 42,000 milligrams. So that's a hero dose. And at the base of it is hemp seed oil, as we were talking about that being a topical. And then we did CBD and THC in there. Shout out to Benji from Everything Better Co., who manufactures all of my products.
I met Benji, right?
Yes, you did.
We had a crazy night with Benji.
That crazy night with Benji and Stacy from Hempstock Farms.
Yeah, and we can talk about that later. I don't want to cut off because I wanted to kind of front load the podcast with telling people what the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat has. And,
for sure.
Some of the things they can look out for.
Well, we shout out to Healing Sunflower Massage and to the Look Loft and Dr. Renee, as they utilize our topicals and Body Fountain and Mochina. And they buy the stuff by the gallon that I was just mentioning, and they can do infused massages at those places. If you haven't done an infused massage, you're missing out. You haven't lived. Maddie, have you gone yet? All right, Maddie's going soon.
That's awesome.
Well, yes, if you haven't done that, you just don't understand. Like, we have athletes that are Sarah Saj out in Woodridge, another one of our accounts. He works with a lot of athletes, and she says that the lasting effects of that massage oil is like 2 to 3 days of like pain relief.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't me making claims. This is me understanding the plant enough to know that less ingredients is more. And then when we made the aroma good, then I started hearing something else that I didn't immediately appreciate. I thought it was like people, and like they were giving me a little too much information. I started having regulars tell me that, hey man, this massage oil, bro, just want to let you know, I got laid. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And they're like, yeah, man, it's perfect. And then I was like, the first time I heard it, I brushed it off. It was like too much information, but good for you. And then the second time I heard it, I was like, is this happening right now? And these people didn't know each other. And then another group told me, and then another couple and another couple. And shout out to all the couples that are getting closer with Entourage Massage Oil. Valentine's Day's coming up.
Yeah, that's super dope.
And by the way, all kidding aside, when you use the roll-on on your feet before you go to bed, you have the best sleep of your life, because the foot is super absorbent. And instead of the grandma remedies of like putting onions in your socks or Vicks on your feet, which also smells terrible, I don't know how anyone could sleep with that stuff in their socks. People come back to me after hearing the Entourage, and everyone thinks I'm crazy when I first say it. It's like, what do you mean, rub this on my foot? I'm like, yeah, you'll see. And then when they do it, they're like, oh my God. And then I'm sure, like, of course, massage oil comes with massaging, which potentially turns into sensual activities. And then God is good.
Off to the races.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whatever race that is for you. But yes, of course. That's the feedback I've gotten off of that. And then, we entered, from years of doing the Little Bean farmers markets, I ended up meeting Miguel in June. Shout out to Juju's Barbecue. And Miguel embraced the opportunity of infusing his barbecue and buffalo sauce. And House of Bandits, then I introduced to Benji. And now we have those products as well, which I love. You know, they were doing it one way, and then we introduced to a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to call them friends, and they're going to be working with us as we're going to do an event on 4/19, and it's going to go from noon to midnight. And we're going to do a pig roast that's going to be all of it's going to be donated to the K9 for Veterans.
That's dope.
Yes.
4/19, perfect, and it ends at midnight. It's almost like Stoner New Year.
Correct. And then the next day is Easter, which any of those people who don't pay attention to the calendar, like sometimes I don't, it is Easter. And I was like, well, I'm not throwing an event on Easter because a lot of people are going to be with their families.
Sure, that's a good idea.
And so 4/19 is the way for us. Plus it's a Saturday, and then you can recover with your family on Easter and eat good food and be good to go.
Yeah.
So there's going to be all types of things that are happening that day, including live music. So get prepared.
Yeah. I can already see like parents getting like, you know, their Ubers home, and then they like go home high and they're like hiding the eggs around the house for the kids, you know.
Well, they shouldn't go home high because we're going to give them CBD to make sure that they're going to be good to go. And they can get high on their own supply when they get home. And we're responsible recreation, Cole.
Yeah. Well, hey, you notice I said Uber drivers.
Yes, I caught that. That's why I always tell people, if it ain't Uber taking you home, then you can use CBD to help level you out. That's better than the ladder. And that's something else that I want to mention too, that we're going to be embarking on this year, is educating more people on events. And when they are out, and we've seen people green out, that making sure that we offer CBD in some way, shape, or form, even if I'm not there, because it helps people not have to run to the ER when potentially when they get there, they might just get a placebo pill and say, good luck.
Yeah.
The last thing someone needs greening out is a sugar pill.
Right. Well, Mark, like I was telling you when we started the podcast, I feel like I've known you for a while, but who are you, Mark?
Man.
Have you always been in the Chicagoland, born and raised?
Yeah, when I started Mr. CBD, it was an ode to the first business I ever started. I used to run a promotional company doing parties, and it was called Mr. Blue Jeans.
Yeah.
And I would sell mixtapes out of the trunk of my car, try to help some DJs, and they helped me. And we were doing cassette tapes back then, man.
That's cool.
My first business was, I was 17 years old, and my parents had to co-sign for it. So I was crazy back then because I wasn't old enough to run my own business, but my cassettes were in Tower Records. So I was a young entrepreneur from an early age. And then along the way, I started doing tour operating with party buses and making sure people didn't drink and drive. I did that for 16 years. And then I got to live a dream in the football arena. And so arena football, from the Chicago Slaughter to the Rush. And then we had a minor league football team that was a farm system called the Chicago Chaos. I lived the dream doing that. And then once I was done with that, then I started embarking on Mr. CBD for my personal health and my best friend's health, which was Smokey. And that journey, he was with me the entire time. So all those incarnations I just told you, he was a part of all three of those journeys, which is why I'm writing a book about that with him, called Best Friend, My 19 Years with Smokes. And I can't wait to share that. My goal is to actually publish that on hemp paper.
Yeah, you were showing me pictures.
That's the science fiction stuff. That's different.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah, that's when I started finishing the Best Friend book, I got choked up because I didn't want it to end.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came up with the idea of doing these things called high adventures, which are like old school pulp fiction stories that are short stories. And that's another thing that's allowing me to keep his legacy alive, because I have a vivid imagination and I love fantasy and sci-fi. So I came up with the idea for these two characters in a story called High Adventures. One guy's called Buck Wild. The other guy's Smokey's half man, half husky. So he's his own best friend. Shout out to John Candy from Spaceballs.
I love that movie.
Yes.
Great movie. Well, cool. Like you said, Chicago, born and raised. You used to sell mixtapes. Did you smoke weed all the time?
19 is when I began.
Okay.
And my friends took me to Wisconsin to get me really high, and they got me. Needless to say, that introduction propelled me to who I was next. I felt like I was all over the place. I couldn't concentrate. Weed afforded me the opportunity to start really I felt like all the crimps that were in my neurons in my brain opened up like a a crimped hose in a garden. And ever since then, it's been the most amazing journey ever for me.
Hell yeah. Do you remember the first time you got high?
Absolutely. I smoked Alaskan Thunderfuck on the side of my buddy's house next to a air conditioner that was outside. And my friends had given me a bowl, which I have a picture of, I could show you later. And it was a car part. And we smoked out of it. And I kept saying, I'm not feeling anything. I'm not feeling anything. And then I looked up at the stars and I got that feeling that you might get from a roller coaster. And I couldn't stop laughing. And it was hilarious. Yeah, that whole evening was just absolutely hilarious. And again, shout out to all the people who introduced me to that plant. You know who you are. And if you're still watching and listening, yeah, you can't believe it, can you? Because I can't either.
It's funny. That's funny. So yeah, anything else do you want to mention about just like growing up and any other memories you have, not just even of like cannabis related, but just
when I was hosting all those people who were drinking, cannabis afforded me the opportunity to have the patience to deal with that. But then there was always a select group of people on those bus tours that always could smell the fact that I was utilizing cannabis, and they would be like, "Hey, man, who's got the weed?" I'm like, "Well, that's me." And like, then they would. Those people would just gravitate towards me. I was drinking back then too, but cannabis was something that I actually liked to do. And I felt like drinking was only a part of what I had to do for my work. I really never did it outside of work. But when I did it, unfortunately, I overconsumed, which is why I gave it up, years ago.
talking about alcohol. You gave
Correct.
up alcohol.
Yeah, and nicotine. I gave up both of those at the same time.
Gotcha. Interesting, man. Well, I don't think that was the open house the first time we had met each other in person, the Illinois Hemp Brewers open house.
When we smoked on the steps?
Oh, no, never mind. Thank you. Yeah, and I'll play that footage.
By the way, just so you know, folks, when you use nutritional hemp, your memory is on it, man. I'm telling you, brain food, baby.
Dude, well, as soon as you said it, yeah, you reminded me because I've got that footage of it, and it's
that was hilarious. It was a good time because we weren't sure about what times we were going to have next, and that could have been the last good time that we were going to have appreciating the plant the way we're going to. And so, if they were going to force us to get rid of it, you and I were like, "Let's smoke on it," on the steps, and no one cared.
No one cared. I did try to pass it to a cannabis lobbyist that was coming in, and they did not want to hit it. I remember that.
I do, and I think next time around it would be appropriate if we gave them a water instead of just some CBD in it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Next time we'll do that.
Sometimes people might not be confident enough to be like taking a hit and then going in.
No way.
Into business.
Especially not them right now. Again, we have a long way to go. I've said it earlier. If we don't lay that groundwork for nutritional hemp, it might be hard if there's no foundation with that. And industrial. If people knew that industrial hemp and nutritional hemp could really change the world, they would be more apt to looking into CBD and THC. And I've seen it with my own eyes. People who've come in here and in other arenas that I've been around, if they're taking that first initial step, then they want it later on, they come to investigate the rest. They're like, wait a minute, this is great for me. So what about this other stuff? Maybe I should look into it. Same thing with the animals. Even if it's not for you, people are always quick to take care of their animals first. That's actually typically the first step that people take around here is helping their animals first. And then we guide them, hey, that works for the animal, right? You might want to look into it for yourself.
To your point, you remember that was one of the stories that kept coming up when we were in Springfield. I was just like walking around, and like a lot of the representatives I spoke to, and I think you were in the room sometimes, just like Pat, I can't remember. But the point was they kept bringing up, like, would this House Bill 4293, would it ban like this stuff for my animal? Like they were like really worried about that. House representatives kept bringing that up.
I'm happy to hear that because that means that I'm sure I'm just one of many people who have tried to put that narrative out there, but I hope that's something that we're going to really spearhead this year so that we got to tug on people's hearts a little bit. That's why I mentioned Charlotte Figi earlier too. People need to know that we need to keep access to CBD. to animals and children. They need it. And there's I had a story which you can look up on Google. It's true. I had a woman hit me up about the mental health of her daughter, and I told them to do blood work. They found out she was vitamin D deficient, and they gave her CBD, and she's truly leveled out. What an amazing story, and we have many amazing stories like that from our regulars and patients now.
Oh yeah. Did you already mention that like you've like oh yeah, you did mention that you've got like 5 doctors that work here and
we're looking to expand on that, tongue in cheek, we call it from dealers to healers, So, and I've talked to those doctors about it and they were like, you know what? They can't argue, it's true. They want to get off of that. They don't want to be the first line of defense like we talked about earlier.
yeah. What did you just to get back to what we were talking about a second ago, what did you think about your experience in Springfield, like the first time and this most recent time,
I'll say exactly what I said when I was in the rotunda. After being there plenty of times now, it's like bizarro world. Up is down, left is right. And if you have common sense, they'll run you out of town. There's something, I forget the name of it, but there is peer pressure. It's science out there. When they've done like studies where they write like a line on a dry erase board, and they'll have people in the room, and the lines are definitely different, but there's like several people in the room who are paid to tell you that the lines are all the same, and then peer pressure will get people to say yes, the lines are the same, even if it's not. So the scary part about what we're dealing with is there's a lot of peer pressure for people who are putting out false narratives about this plant and or glossing over for special interests why we shouldn't have certain things. And luckily, people, I do have critical thinking, even though it feels like bizarro world. The reason why is that I felt like my enemies became my allies, and my allies from the past work became my enemies somehow. That's what I felt like when I was there. And so luckily some people were critical thinking and it tugged at their hearts from the point of view of their animals, because they didn't want that to go away, and then tried to educate on the nutritional side of the plant and remind people it's not 1942, and that, although it can make rope, it can do a lot more, because that seemed to be the narrative that people will mention for some reason. Like, we can make rope because, right.
Yeah.
But we could do much more with hemp than just making rope. Hence, going back to, the emperor wears no clothes. Go read the book. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about the meme that everybody knows about, the 50,000 things you can do with hemp, but ain't nobody doing it. And if the people who are doing it, it's so expensive, it's because we haven't incentivized the hemp farmer. Okay. So again, Colombia, last time I checked, is in production of 1 million acres of hemp for industrial, and they're currently producing 40% of the world's industrial hemp. We should be number one. America should be number one in industrial hemp. We have the ability to do so, and I challenge not only the hemp farmer to go for that, but our government to understand that it would be the ultimate cash crop, and that it would be a wonderful export for other people, because we would be the best at it. And I do have faith in America that we will figure it out and become the best at it once we do.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be awesome. That would be for sure awesome. When you were there, I know you got the opportunity to speak to some representatives, and I think you even were saying that you spoke to your own representative. Tell me about that experience. How was that?
Same everything we just talked about. Like you really are given like 120 seconds to do like drop a bomb in a mic or whatever you want to call it. And you got to be impactful. It's got to make sense, and you got to make them think. And at the end of the day, the most impactful thing that I said to everyone is, please don't regulate something that you're not educated on. It's as simple as that. That's it. I'm down for like proper regulation and free enterprise, not monopolizing marijuana. Don't monopolize marijuana. Give us free, give us the free enterprise opportunities to make sure that we can, the small business and the small farmers can do what they got to do. In a perfect world, again, I would love to see home growers have some of the home growers I've seen who are growing their 5 plants have some of the best flower I've ever had the opportunity to utilize.
Yeah.
So there should be a perfect world in the future where dispensaries are buying hemp, nutritional hemp, and therapeutic CBD from licensed CBD and hemp farms in the state, and supporting in-state grows and getting that part in. If grandma or anybody who has an ailment coming into a dispensary, they should be responsibly led to nutritional hemp and therapeutic CBD instead of going, here's the highest THC we got, grandma. Here's the highest THC you got. You can see you feeling like crap. We might take you to another level of feeling like crap. There's more to this than just getting people super high. So if we can start having true education come out of medicinal dispensaries, and I don't want to make, state cannabis my enemy. I'd rather see us play with each other. But if you stay, how could I find those products into a dispensary? And how can I find the home grower? If someone people pay top shelf money for top shelf alcohol. You don't think that someone would pay top shelf to get a home grower's wonderful bud? And why couldn't they monetize that? Why couldn't the home grower monetize that if it's for medical purposes? They should be able to share their medical gift with someone who would like it. And a lot of people do get their medical card for recreation, and I'm not knocking it, but wouldn't you like to have access to top shelf growing?
Right.
And not have to worry about it?
Yeah.
So again, the sooner we can start to free the plant up, and the reason why they're not freeing the plant up is because they paid to play. And they want to keep access to that.
So, but if I'm a legislator and I'm asking you, what are we going to do going forward? And I know you said you want to sell in the dispensary, but you also, I think, want to continue to be able to sell stuff in here.
1,000%.
So, but what is the answer? I'm a legislator. Here you are.
The answer again is we'll talk about the Illinois Hemp Growers Association, and shout out to Chris and Rachel Berry. Hemp Bill 0064. Go look it up. Read up on it. You already know about it. This is the bill that we should be helping out, making sure that free enterprise stays free enterprise, right? And then on top of it, making sure that we understand the nutritional aspects of hemp, and then how we can get that going for industrial and grain, and understanding that there's a lot of monetization that can happen there. As we are madly in debt as a country. So we need to start finding solutions for the long term. And hemp is one of those things that Jack said from his books that it could change the world, right? Well, it can also change our economy and flip itself on its head. And it is, as long as you stop hyper focusing on what's wrong with the plant and what you don't like, and start realizing the monetization of it, nutritional and industrial hemp. Then on the CBD side of things, getting people more educated on the difference between isolated CBD, and there's still a place for that for people, broad spectrum CBD and what that means to people, and how, full spectrum is great for a developing brain. If you really care about my health, brains don't stop developing until you're 25. It's really important that we promote brain food and, CBD that can get the receptors going in the right direction, if you catch my drift. Balancing people out is super important, since people are inherently walking around like a V8 commercial off balance. You know what I mean? And and the whole point of having the entourage effect is getting people to be in balance. And when you are in homeostasis, you are in balance, right? And hemp, CBD, and THC can provide people that experience, I believe, in this lifetime. And if you're still leery of all that, chocolate is a really good alternative. I learned that after the fact, and I'm looking to educate people more on that side of that too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just about cannabis. It's about, how can we get our healthcare system being more on become people who understand the nutrient side of the body thing. How can you become nutritionalists first and make not people full-time patients? I want to hear about success stories, right? I don't want to hear about you're giving someone a Band-Aid when they need a tourniquet or something. You know what I mean? Here's good for your ailments, can help cover this, but the long-term effects of this is not great for you. You know what I mean? So that means that this should only be a temporary fix until you find the real fixes, which is taking care of and maintaining of a healthy body.
Yeah. one of the thoughts I had to one of the points you made is like, I just thought it would be interesting. You know, it was so cool to see so many people come together for like the rally in the rotunda, and even the first time we came and we smoked on the steps of the Capitol.
Oh, don't forget about the moment when you told me to go up first and I told you rock, paper, scissors. And while we were messing around, the other two leaders got up and talked before us anyway.
Yeah, which was cool.
It was.
It was nice to get a clear head because
Yeah. And by the way, what you set up there was awesome.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, you know, I like, even one of my friends showed up, which just was another consumer that just like took their time. They came from up here as well. So it was like a 3-hour drive from them. And I think that's like notable, you know, that people would take their time. And like, we fucking went there and the front doors were locked. I swear to God, somebody paid to do that. I'm just joking. It's just to be funny.
No,
but we had to freaking walk around all the way around the Capitol, and there was like construction. So there was like,
that's what I meant when I said
cold.
even that day, the exit was the entrance. So you know that everything's construction. So why did you make the exit the entrance that day? It was frozen. That's why I felt like we were in Bizarro World. So the minute I walked in, I told the security guards exactly what I felt. I'm like, I'm frozen. And this is also my fault. I'm going to make sure I make it clear. I forgot my jacket here that day.
Yeah.
So I was in trouble.
I was dressed like a fool too.
It was really cold out, man.
So it was, honestly, I can't put all the blame on them.
That's another thing for when you talk about how many people showed up and the diverse hemp supporters that came out and how cold it was awesome that there were that many people there fighting for our rights for this plant.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy.
It would have been a travesty had they passed it. It really would have been. It would have put this plant, like everything that we've been talking about today, would have been halted. And we've already done a good enough job of that. We need to start moving forward with this plant, not constantly going backwards. They do the cha-cha with this plant, back and forth. Sometimes we like it, sometimes we don't. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's time to start moving forward, man. And again, the faster people, like again, whether it's the uneducated or even the connoisseur, needs to remember that the hemp part of this plant from a nutritional aspects is something that needs to be cherished and nourished.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it's like going forward, like if there's going to be any modification of that policy, because, you know, 4293, if you recall, did have what I would call a temporary carve out. And I don't know if they were going to modify that at all, but the Illinois Craft Brewers Association, I believe I had the president on the show, and he had told me that, yeah, they had worked really hard to get a carve out to continue to be able to sell like the hemp derived drinks, right? But it would have only been temporarily. So it'll be interesting to see, like, you know, if they introduce it again, what if any updates might exist. And I believe they did introduce Senate bill again.
So here's something we have to remember. As you are well aware, these are public officials, right? And so the key term in that phrase is the public. They don't have, it's not the special interest officials. It's the public officials. And if they're not doing things that are good for the public, someone has to do some checks and balances to make sure that they are. And that's what the public is there to do. Now, the public, if people let people do whatever they want, then we have no one to blame but ourselves. But right now, we have a responsibility to the plant and ourselves, if we appreciate it, to make sure that we educate as much people as possible so they can't take it away. And that we need to start making sure that we're making strides towards responsible recreation and responsible consumption, responsible all of it, and responsible distribution, responsible manufacturing. And yes, I'm sure not a lot of people are doing it the right way. People, like, let's come together on what the right way looks like and making sure that we're making it fair for everybody, not just people with special interests, right? Because that one of the things that we should make sure that we're talking about this again. I've never seen a world when we talked about Bizarro World that we're fighting over something that's already federally legal versus something that's not. That's pretty cut and dry. They screwed up. You know, we talked about it before on camera. You know, the social equity program didn't work out so well. The expungement program is not working out so well. State cannabis is a Ponzi scheme. I've had people who are in state cannabis tell me they think it's a Ponzi scheme. Okay. And then, of course, you know, if they really want to put a microscope on anybody, they should do it on themselves, because a lot of their products don't test out, whether it's mold, yeast, or edibles that the paperwork doesn't match up with what the ingredients are, or what they're, they were to be retested. This is happening. So when they want to put like oh, this is happening over here, well, make sure you have registered facilities like we do with Smithers. All my products goes into Smithers here in Illinois, which is a DEA regulated testing facility. Okay. So everybody should have to do that. Not just Mr. CBD, because I made my name Mr. CBD Chicago LLC, and someone else calls himself ABC LLC, doing business as, and no one regulates that person the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So people are afraid to do this the right way because they don't, you know, the regulations don't allow everybody to do good business. We have a bank, we have processing, you know what I mean? And again, I've also had things where I've been discriminated against from banking and processing. So, and they'll tell me like, well, we just have to wait till it's federally legal. Then I got to educate my own bank on the fact that it is federally legal and that you don't know what you're talking about. And that's just the person who's at the, you know, my teller at my bank, but they've now taken the time to get educated. And now my bank is one of my biggest supporters and cheerleaders, especially when I've gone on rough times. When we did get wrongfully eliminated from a cannabis processing program.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, I've heard of people having troubles with banks, even though they're, you know, using a hemp license. So it's interesting.
Well, here's the thing. Hemp will provide people the opportunity to get legal. If you're in the black market space right now, you can't fathom getting into state cannabis. There's no way you have the money to do it. But hemp can afford someone the opportunity to go legal if they want to.
Yeah, I try to advocate for what I've been trying to call like taking the best and leaving the rest. So taking what I consider to be the best parts of what you might call hemp policy, like as they're structured right now in Illinois, where I interviewed David Lakeman. He oversees the division of cannabis, but also oversees the industrial hemp program. And he said if you would have applied for a hemp license this morning, you would have been leaving with one this afternoon. And like, so I'm, you know, taking some of those open license policies, keeping even something like a 10 cap on dispensaries, and even, you know, like some sort of cap like that to prevent people from becoming too large, you know. Again, still, that's a good, I think, set of monopoly protections right there. We should open up. One of the cool things about Illinois hemp licensing is that it's transparent. You can see who has the licenses on a portal online. That's pretty fucking cool. It's essentially descheduled cannabis. I wish we could just come together on this issue, deschedule the plant entirely so that we can stop having this argument about marijuana versus hemp. Like, it's all cannabis.
Correct.
You know? So like, and I think, you know, to the point of testing, we should enhance testing. Even to your point, you know, I've read the Chicago Sun-Times report. We've had Tom Schuba and Stephanie Zimmerman on the show to talk about their work, where they found, like, they bought the 9 pre-rolls or whatever, or I think it was 9, and 8 of them tested, like, weren't labeled accurately or had mold in them or whatever. You know, I've seen reporting like that. So obviously, and we've all heard about reports of THC inflation and lab shopping, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe we try to just make all testing standards better.
Well, taking it a step further, we have to make sure that the wholesaler who's reselling to these individuals understands how they're supposed to maintain the products.
Yeah.
They'll compromise the product with sunlight. It gets too hot, gets too cold, products compromised, and they keep it on the shelf, and then people are getting compromised products. So there needs to be education across the board about how to maintain and take care of this plant. It can't. Every aspect who touches it needs serious education.
Yeah, it just needs to be, to put it simply, opened up. It's just such a crazy process. Like I'm not saying we can't test cannabis. I'm just saying cannabis testing is obviously not perfect either. So like, let's yes, improve that. If people want to be held to that standard, they can. We should allow farmers markets like you were talking about earlier. We should allow things like you're able to do. Like that, and that's what I mean when I started with this, like taking the best and leaving the rest. So I do agree that like we need to look into certain like processes that people use to like derive some of these products, that are being sold. I think that's something that we should like really look into. But I will say that I recently bought a few gummies of THCP, which sounds pretty awesome. Honestly, my girlfriend tried it, and we usually eat like a pretty large dose of THC. Like, we try to have fun. So like at least starting with 50 milligrams, maybe more than that, and she ate 4 milligrams of THCP and was high for like 2 days.
Well, did you guys even? She was good with it though.
Yeah,
oh,
it was
it's
a
different.
plan. It was a plan.
But for those who aren't good with it, that's where CBD should come into play.
Right.
And again, that's where a lack of education in that realm, especially in our industry, like you'd be like a surprise, like the movie Toy Story when the clock comes down with those little guys, the green guys. Ooh, that's how I feel about cannabis at large when it comes to learning about CBD and hemp. I think to myself too. I'm like, I know there's other people who know what I know, but very rarely does the masses know anything about that part, and they're fascinated by it. And that's why I'm excited to have higher level conversations as we go along. They just recently found out at University of Israel another additional 100 cannabinoids. You know what I mean? And so those things need to be identified and appreciated. And like, we need to worry more about that. The foundation for cannabis I've talked to you about, and it needs to happen, especially nutrition. But there's so much that we know already that's going beyond that I think it's only going to help. Is your thing dead?
No, I'm just checking it.
And I was going to tell you to take a union break, that you got the next hit.
Oh, dope. Yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, like I say, it seems so simple, yet it becomes so complicated. Like seems like when money is involved, logic goes out the window.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with that whole thing I told you about peer pressure. Because when people have special interests, and that includes obviously the monetization of this plant, our country's supposed to be based off of free enterprise, but it hasn't really been going that way. You know what I mean? And so we're not supposed to allow monopolies to happen, but then we do, because people aren't, like I said, checks and balances, man. Who's paying attention to what? And if you let people take advantage of your rights, then they will.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I will say one thing that is cool about what has been done is the fact that we're like just chilling here right now doing this. And like in the past, I may not have been so like ready to just set up a fucking camera and like microphones and just blaze it. Like it's,
several years ago, I would have felt the same way until I got onto like some other things that I just was like, this is it. This is this is what I've always been like anyways, right? So I love being my most authentic self, and cannabis affords me the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Super cool. Super cool. Like I say though, we've, what I meant to say is like, we've got some work to do, but it is cool the progress we have made, and like think about the times we do live in where like, I don't know how far away New Buffalo is from here. Maddie, Mark, how far away is New Buffalo from here? I mean, it's got to be about an hour.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Like, and I say that to mean you have a lot of choice there compared to some of the dispensaries here in Illinois. you got to do your research, of course. But that's just like anything else, you know, like if I go to the grocery store and I'm trying to try something new, or finding a good meat shop sometimes can be hard. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Whenever you can do farm to fork.
yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. We ended up we buy like a half a cow, a whole cow, but we have to split it with my parents because like a whole cow is a lot.
I hope that we can encourage places like, and we're working on it, like other places that understand that once we get into the animal thing and about educating people on the animal endocannabinoid system, they're going to be more interested in learning about it for themselves.
Yeah.
Because people are always ready to save a whale. You know what I mean? Legit. I say that tongue in cheek again, but like, here's the deal. If we get people understanding the symbiotic relationship we have with this plant, including the animals that we work with and live with and eat, then they're going to be more likely to be introduced to that. I think when it was prevalent in the food chain, people potentially were a little bit healthier because they could fulfill their systems by just everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. What are some things that you look forward to in the future?
Stressing less about how to run my business or being able to run it and actually running it.
Yeah, just like being able to focus on actually running it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Can I just do that? And then, I do want to, the hyper focus for me this year
It's hard
is
enough to worry about, sorry to cut you off, but it's hard enough
you're
to
good.
worry about like doing the business and making sure it itself focuses, that it's crazy that you're even worried about like if you can do the business.
The only thing I could think of is after mentioning the Mount Rushmore of cannabis, or more aptly put, Mount Rushmore of marijuana, that I feel like they are in there. And anybody can debate me on it. Please let me know if there's someone else that I can learn from, and I'm always for it, right? But it's both people who that I put up there made it normal for me, made it like real for me. Whereas a lot of people who educate about cannabis will talk so far over your head that you don't even know what the hell they're talking about. And so I try to do my best to, like, my joke about, CBD, shout out to an old friend who told me this. It's like a cross between nature's Tylenol and like a Flintstone vitamin on steroids, man. And I was like, well, that's cool. And most people don't want to know the synchronicities of the individual cannabinoid because they're not hearing it. They want to know that it's better than Tylenol, man. You get a bad relationship with Aleve, Tylenol, and aspirin, which is so easy to obtain and can absolutely hurt you for prolonged use. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then CBD ain't that. There's a better way. CBD, we put in a gel cap with curcumin, turmeric, and coconut oil, man. Limited ingredients. People are taking that and finding amazing result for muscle recovery, headaches, reversing feeling too elevated. I've seen it all with that.
Oh, yeah.
And those are other people telling me that. These are testimonials from others. You can go see that again on Google for yourself.
That's cool. To your point though, like, yeah, some people aren't totally into the nuance of like, the plant or even the policy, and I get it. Like, there's just so much going on right now, and like so much to pay attention to, and so much to get yourself busy with, that it's like, I don't know, like you kind of got to be, really into it to like take the time to get into the things you're getting into,
For sure. There's a little thing over there with a portal with an octopus, and that's how I kind of feel, when it comes to industrial hemp, nutritional hemp, therapeutic CBD and THC. I want to have my tentacles in all of it, and I want to be able to not be the master of any of them, but just being able to be the gatekeeper to help people get to the masters of those things. I know plenty of the masters. Shout out to Ingrid Faye for the industrial shout out. Always getting me interested in knowing more about hemp hurd, hemp wood, hemp hearts. We talk about all that stuff every time she comes here and how we can expand on making that normal, right? So the goal around here is to have hemp floors. Hopefully the next time you come through, we can make that a reality. That would be something to talk about, right?
That'd be cool.
Correct. And why is it important? I don't have time for all that right now, but you get the idea. These are things that we can help keep that plant growing in a different direction.
Hemp hammocks.
Yes, I want you to definitely, when you talked about getting some footage, that's a sweet corner that I want to clean up for you so you can take advantage of that.
Oh yeah. The sweets corner, is that what you're saying?
What's that? A sweet, no, the sweet corner over there for all the hemp, industrial hemp stuff is on that counter over there.
Gotcha. Understood.
So I definitely have you get, but I want to clean it up a little bit before you get that footage.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's like I say, man, gotta say it's a cool place. I really love the fish tank for sure.
Yeah, like I think we talked about on camera earlier. I love fish, always have, and it's calming for me. It brings down my heart rate when I get too stressed. Just watching them, it's scientifically proven to be good to go. And then we put good CBD water in there. And if you know anything about the snowflake scenario from Japan, where they yell at a snowflake and it turns dark, and then you give positive affirmations to the snowflake and it crystallizes, and you're made of water. All types of things I want people to consider. We're vibrational beings and needs to be good vibrations. So especially with our plants, that's another thing I want people to see. I have cleaner water for my plants. And I want to see I want to hear that you played Mozart to the plant during its growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got smart weed.
Hell yeah. Well, anything else, any other ground you want to cover with hemp? I know that, like you said, like the nutritional aspects are really important to you. We've covered the industrial aspects.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that are stuck on whey protein. And if we just got the, Smoothie King to take out whey protein and put hemp protein, we'd be in much better shape. And so we need to start. That's what I mean about normalization. We've normalized the wrong things, you know what I mean, that are not good for you. And so we need hemp milk, and you can take hemp protein and make hemp milk. We have that. Hemp powdered protein, hemp hearts, blend it up yourself, add water, vanilla extract. If you want to have the flavor, that's your call. Otherwise, hemp milk is way healthier than all of the alternatives. Fight me.
I love it. I love it. No, for sure. I'm a huge fan of just the some of the edibles you can get through the mail. Like I've tried some really, really tasty edibles, like different cookies and fucking snacks.
Can I blow your mind and give you a hemp edible right now with no CBD or THC in it? So we're going to take something that's inherently unhealthy and give it to you that's that's made of hemp. You ready to try one? You sit right here. I'll be right back.
And we are back. I will just say that Mark, am high as fuck. Let's do this. Let's keep doing this.
I assume the next response I should say is you're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to call this part of the segment the Trust Your Dopeness segment. Okay. And this is what we're going to figure out. How I help people achieve what's good for them is by, your senses, right? And you're going to smell something that I want you to smell. So, for me personally, I always lead with what I like the most, which is Bubba Kush. Shout out to Boston Buds for, cultivating my favorite strain, and you'll see why in a moment. But sorry, folks at home, you're not going to get the same experience that Cole's about to get. I always encourage you to get a whiff.
Yeah.
Yes, right there with scratch and sniff, and then it's on tap, there you go. And so there are other strains, but we're going to move into something a little bit faster, and we'll get into other stuff. I want you to take an opportunity to taste a little bit of this. So this is from Hempstock Farms, and they use ginger, turmeric, and hemp hearts with honey. So it's superfood with superfood with superfood with superfood. 4 different types of superfood. Have you ever had hemp hearts before?
I think so, yeah.
You think so? You would know so if you had some. It's brain food for.
Trying to think of what it was in. Yeah.
Pretty dope, right? So if you take the time, everyone, to look up the benefits of hemp hearts and honey, you'll appreciate the fact why they had to be put together. Super duper food. So that's
all from Hempstock Farms.
Correct. Shout out to Stacy. And then I'm going to take you on another palate moment. You ready? So there was also CBG in that, by the way. I forgot to mention.
That was really good.
Yes, I'm glad you liked it. Now I'm going to take you on another ride. Ready for this one? A flavor ride. This is THC honey. This, my friend.
THC honey. That's what I'm talking about.
It is what I'm talking about, and it's what you're about to have. Enjoy that.
Very good.
Vanilla bourbon honey. Isn't that something?
We're gonna eat something.
I got this.
Cool. Thank you.
Pretty dope, right?
Absolutely dope.
Now, let's take things a step further. And we talked earlier about inherently unhealthy things and turning them healthy by putting hemp into them. Shout out to Lexi from Weather Streets. She took our hemp and made a super duper awesome edible. The pink stuff is from Maddie's birthday. So here you go, Maddie. Try some of this if you haven't yet. Doctor?
Thank you. Happy birthday, Maddie.
Yes.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm. All right. And you know what you do after you eat, don't you? You smoke. And then I'm going to take both of you to go get some of the best pizza in town. Shout out to San Remos. Uh-huh. And there's going to be behind the scenes footage on that one, guys. You're going to want to you're going to want to see some stuff. I think you're going to have like a show within a show.
Hell yeah. This is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going to try some of that Bubba. This grinder also substitutes as a weapon.
Yeah, there's some heft to it.
What I like about that grinder, it's got the Kung Fu grip. So you don't have to worry about it. I've been using it for months, and I really enjoy it. How was your ride in here, by the way?
It was smooth and groovy.
All right.
Yeah. We were
the road was long, but be grateful it's taking you there, right?
Yeah, we were cruising, man. It was for sure chill. Listen to podcast and I've been listening to the Harry Potter audiobooks because I always liked those books when I was a kid. So
that's awesome that you do that, by the way. That's a big pastime of mine is listening to audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah.
Big fan. I also like listening to old time radio shows.
Dude, yeah. Same.
Like Shadow, Green Hornet. All that stuff is dope. I've listened to War of the Worlds radio show when people thought it was real. Come a long way.
People were freaking out.
Yes, people were freaking out, grabbing shotguns. There's like a specific picture from Time magazine when a guy had like a shotgun thinking that aliens were coming.
Do you think the aliens are coming?
Still, I don't know. I mean, they thought that in the 50s. I mean, I don't know if they're coming or not.
What about the drones on the East Coast?
I believe it. If I wanted to go down the conspiracy talk theory, I believe there are interdimensional beings because we've screwed around with stuff. Like whether, we've done a lot of things scientifically that might have put rips into reality. And so maybe there's interdimensional beings that make sense to me to a degree. I believe that a lot of the technology that we are seeing out there is ancient technology that we're just revitalizing. I'm sure there are definitely other species out there. We're not alone, and we, if you ever zoom out on the earth, we actually look like an ant farm. So think about it. Someone who's way more advanced than we are might consider us just that.
Yeah, that's what I think of. And it's like, how often do you really mess with the ant farm?
Geez, leave me alone, man.
Yeah,
Shit.
Exactly. You just kind of watch it sometimes. It's interesting.
Right. Here you go. Here's this Bubba.
Let's do it.
Smell it, smoke it, eat it. Samurai Sunday with Mr. CBD.
Samurai Sunday. Bro, I'm definitely going to buy one of those fucking whatever the hell we had just a second ago. Whatever you gave me and Maddie.
Try the puppy chow.
Oh my God, the puppy chow made of hemp. You don't even know.
I'll have
I
to
have
get
2 bags left.
I'll buy
So-
one for my girlfriend. She'll really like it. She likes
It's so
puppy chow.
good.
So
I don't even know which one I like better. There's a s'mores one, and then there's a peanut butter one, if I'm correct. And they're both really, really good.
and if you-
Every time you bring them out, it's like the perfect, like, munchy food for real.
Mhm.
It's something that's definitely like I could pass that bowl around, but you don't want to because it's so good.
Yeah.
I definitely have to be careful with those bags because I find myself finishing them when I eat them. They're that good. This would be a good moment. Like, we should definitely get some footage of that little rack if you didn't already, with all the edibles on it. Obviously, that stuff is phenomenal. We busted that out last night at Sessions, and people really appreciated what Lexi brings to the table. Oh yeah, you know I'm smoking.
Smoke up. Smoke up. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Well, I hope we didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Are you all ready for America's new #1 D9 gummy line? That's right. We are bringing to you Parody Gummy. These vegan gummies are manufactured in a safe harbor facility, so you know they're going to be clean and safe, and they're not going to give you any of the runaround. Coming in, we have 3 amazing flavors for you. We have the Raspberry Riots. Also, we have the Sleepy Joes if you need something to help you sleep at night. And if you're feeling like raging and having a party time, that's right, we have the Pineapple Bad Hombre. If you're feeling like a bad hombre, make sure you head over to www.parodygummy.com and secure your bag today.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Well, I hope we didn't miss anything. I feel like there's always so much to talk about.
There is for sure. And
You know, I'm the areas that I'm not well educated on, that I'm still learning on, are concentrates. I love to consume them, but typically I'd rather consume them with people who know what they're doing. You know, it's very I'm not gonna do a rig. I'm not gonna do that myself. I'd rather have someone who's a bud tender, if you will, who appreciates the plant, who could tell me more about that stuff. And I'm still learning a lot of that. I can't wait to learn more. You know, I'm still embarking on terpenes and flavonoids. I want to know more about those things. And I know that I think that those things are going to be isolated and eventually be ingredients in, like, when you go to a restaurant or something. That's how it should be. Like I mentioned before, if I get a bone-in ribeye with Bubba Kush terps, like, let's go. A Bubba bone-in ribeye just sounds dope.
A Bubba bone-in ribeye.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One can wish, but if you've never done it before, just put this out there. Roasted hemp hearts on top of, like, steak, fish, or chicken and pork is all good, man. If you've never done it before, it's great.
Oh yeah. You know, it's crazy. I think I ended up so after helping move yesterday, they had chicken that I ended up learning was hibachi. It had yum yum sauce. Isn't that it? Don't they have that at hibachi?
Yeah, so yeah, we were
So it's funny because
so
I was
last night,
looking
yeah.
forward to going to that, but I ended up
There you
somehow
go.
getting hibachi.
It was the universe, like,
Yeah.
making it work one way or another.
It was great. But did you go to hibachi last night?
Oh, well, we didn't go to it. It was there.
Oh, okay.
They actually popped up at Sessions.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is the Bubba we're smoking on, right? Am I correct? This is the Bubba we're smoking on?
Yep. The Bubba and that thing.
Fuck yeah.
The tapper that we just showed you. And then, of course, I wanted to continue with that part of the experience.
Yes.
So when people come, we don't just have this on display. We actually want to serve it. Just like I greeted you earlier. But there is a method to that madness, and how I tell people to lead with their noses,
Sure.
Your nose won't lie. You'll know what you like. Take a sniff of that.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to DJ.
Smells very good. Oh, my
Trade you.
apologies.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's trade there. Wedding cake. So this is grown in Illinois.
Yep, DeKalb.
It's pretty good. My first one was very fruity. This is wedding cake 23. Yeah, very good.
Now notice the kind of jars that we're putting them in. And so the aroma goes through that neck and you could smell the difference.
Wow. This is high society. Smells very good. Purple sunset. Yeah, this is what it's all about. This reminds me of the traditional experience of when I would buy weed, like in high school. You'd meet somebody and you'd have like several things to choose from and just be like, I want a quarter of that, a quarter of that. Give me an ounce of that, you know? Like,
well, I'm glad it's bringing you back.
Yes, it is bringing me back. And this reminds me of the way it should be. Yeah. It's a massive jar. Wow, that one smells really good. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Some good looking nugs in there too. Oh man, there's a lot to this one. Who's this? Is this from?
You're not going to believe it. The woman to your right, it's a homegrown.
Yeah, I was going to say.
All right. I saved one of the best for last. Nice work, Maddie.
That's really
Look how he reacted.
Here, hold on a second. I got to show that to the camera too.
Go Genetics. What up, homegrown?
That's awesome. Good work, Maddie.
Nice work, Maddie.
That should have been in, I know that maybe the timing didn't work out, but that should have been in the cup.
Actually, my other strain was in the cup, and I came third for cannabinoid content.
Oh, nice.
I beat out a lot of pro growers. I was like, whoa, the earth.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Well, while we're doing this real quick, let me clean up this corner briefly so you could see what I was talking about earlier.
I thought it was cool. Maddie just said she's like getting a live podcast because she's working at the retreat today. It's kind of
cool. What do we call
like
it, Maddie? Productive potheads.
Productive potheads.
Daytime work at the Honeycomb Hideout. All right, everybody. Drum roll, please. The corner over here has been helpful and dedicated by Ingrid Fay, who is our resident industrial hemp lady. She got all the stuff that we have over here from hemp wood. Just grab a piece right here. And that's what that looks like.
Ingrid literally builds hemp houses, from what I know.
That's right. And there's a little hemp house right there. Obviously, when we talked earlier about the octopus, it's kind of an ode to the idea of being attached to all the things that are hemp, CBD, and THC. Hemp hearts, hemp herd, CBD nanoliquid. Says it on the sign. Oh, by the way, we have a dope menu. And you know what we love? We love weed.
Yeah. I love it. That's cool. The nano liquid.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. Mix it into everything.
Yes, and you can cook with it or use it for mocktails either way.
Very good.
As a garnish, by the way. That's the thing when we're utilizing it. It's always on the side as a garnishment, as we do not infuse anything on site.
Well, what bases have we not covered, man? I know, again, like you said, it's hard to cover them all, but any that you can think of before we go?
Just excited to continue to trailblaze and work with people who are trailblazers and people who are masterminding things to make things easier for me versus make it harder.
Show that. This is delicious. Gotta get some of this.
I'm getting ready. I'm sure Maddie's getting hungry.
Yeah.
I know I'm hungry.
Yeah.
You hungry?
That bread hits spot.
Yeah, I did. That's why we had to split it, because it was it's a little too much for one person. You know what I mean? I mean, I've done it though. I've eaten the whole thing by myself. I did it last night.
I'm about to buy one and do that later.
We'll do it later for sure. But yeah, we could go down the street and continue this adventure as all adventures continue.
Yeah, what pizza place are we going to?
San Ramos, right down the street.
San Ramos.
Cool. It's only appropriate to be in the area to eat pizza.
And it's only appropriate that we eat pizza because I love pizza. Yeah. Not that everything's about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you'll see this is a different type of pizza.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Mark Kinnicky. It was an awesome time at the Honeycomb Hideout. I've been twice. It's really awesome. As you can see, you can purchase several different products, including infused products, good old-fashioned flower. He had several jars to choose from, and it was a super cool experience. You can consume on site. Consider it a consumption lounge, a networking lounge. They do game nights. It looks like Mark commented a little bit ago and said that they're doing sound baths today. I don't know exactly what that is. I don't think it involves actually taking a bath, but I'm just joking. I think it's like something kind of like a meditation session. But anyways, got a lot of awesome comments throughout the show. Before I close, I'll acknowledge a few of them. Our good friend Genetic Memory Farms said, I like the nutrition talk, but let's be honest, there is no such thing as a superfood. That is a marketing term like natural. Yeah, hey, I'll have to do more research. I've personally never really used the term superfood. I've heard it, and Mark definitely said it a few times, but like you just pointed out, I didn't know like how based in science that term was. It sounds like it may not be based in science at all. It sounds like it might just be a marketing term, which is not that surprising, I guess. But Genetic Memory Farms also said, hit that like button if you haven't done that already. I would appreciate if you did that. I was hearkening back on the old days, right? Those experiences of purchasing from the traditional market during the episode when Mark was showing me several different strains to choose from. And one of the things I said when he was doing that, I was like, wow, this takes me back to when I used to buy from my guy. And he would say, I got this, this, and this, and lay it all out. And I could smell and pick and be like, I want an ounce of that. I want a quarter of that. I want a fucking pound of that. Yeah, that whole experience really took me back. But Genetic Memory Farms shared a different experience they had. They said, man, when I was very young, it was nameless brick or nothing. Wow. Yeah, that is good context. It makes me feel like I lived a little bit of a privileged life with my cannabis consumption. Towards the beginning of the show, our friend Joseph Ferguson was saying, this retreat is awesome. He also said, I have a new destination to visit in West Addison. Once again, the address I'll have in the show notes. If it's easier, you can just copy, paste it, throw it into your GPS. That'll be how you get to the Honeycomb Hideout Retreat in Addison, Illinois. Before I go, it's 17 West 350 West Lake Street. And again, I said West like twice, so if it's easier, check out the show notes, or I'm displaying it on my screen right now. Punch that into your GPS, and you should be able to get to the Honeycomb Hideout. Folks, I hope you found value in this episode of the Cole Memo. I want to reiterate, you may have noticed there were some ads through the broadcast. If you want to see episodes first without ads, become a patron at colememo.com/Patreon. That's COLEMO.com/PATREON. And we've got some exclusive episodes up there right now. We're about to drop more, including an interview with a manager of a smoke shop. You always hear about the things that are sold at smoke shops. Right now, a lot of what you're hearing about is the hemp-derived products. You hear a lot of discussion, just to put it shortly, around hemp-derived products that are on sale at smoke shops. I recently went to a smoke shop, and that's not all they sell at smoke shops. There's much more, including nitrous, otherwise called galaxy glass. I saw some stuff called booger sugar, which you might have heard as a euphemism for cocaine. No, they're not selling cocaine, but they are selling some sort of snortable stimulant. There was also something called Addy Plus. There's been a lot of discussion online about the next substance that I saw, 7-hydroxy and kratom. So we're going to be talking about all that and more on an episode that's about to drop on our Patreon page. Once again, that's at colememo.com/Patreon, Patreon, if you want to see that debut. Super interesting stuff, just to say the least. Folks, I hope you found value in this episode of the Cole Memo. If you're able to like this episode, subscribe, and share it with your friends. That does a lot to help the show. It helps put the show in front of other people. Wonky Weeds just commented on Instagram and said, appreciate all that you do. Thank you for your support. Terpy Takes just gave me some hearts. And somebody called Fluttering Headset on Twitch, because we're streaming on Twitch now, commented with spam. I will not read it on air, but I will wish you the happiest of Sundays. Take care.